Good morning, Oracles. What another wonderful day we saw yesterday from Tesla, up 2.5% to just under $700. So we saw exactly what I wanted to see yesterday. So I was hoping we were going to see it last Friday. Doesn't really matter what day it was. We were able to come down, we filled that gap at 650, we bounced right off of it and came up and finished the day strong. This is exactly what I was hoping for, because now if we end up gapping up again, that is again going to be a higher low gap than we previously had. So this is making those higher lows than we were before. This is showing that upward trend that we're on. So are we going to continue this way? As of right now, it looks like it. Can we reverse? Of course we can. We can always turn around and go the other direction. Maybe we get bad CPI data next week. Maybe the FOMC minutes that we're going to get today come out with something. Lots of different things and catalysts that we have seen many a black swan happen this year that have turned the entire market around. So anything can happen, but at least the trend that we are currently on is upward, and that's very positive. And it did seem like yesterday we did trend with the macro environment. Of course, we were curious as to how the market was going to play the news when it came to Tesla's deliveries and production numbers coming over the weekend. And it was definitely mixed. It was mixed in both directions. We obviously saw the sell-off early in the morning and then came back strong green. But again, that followed the entire macro environment. Seems like, even in a bear market, you're going to see a cycle in and out of growth and value play stocks. When it goes to the Dow over to the NASDAQ, we saw a little bit of that yesterday as well, with the Dow being down 0.4% and the NASDAQ being up 1.75%. So seeing things like that, we're still flowing with the macro. So the news that we got over the weekend with production and delivery numbers coming right in line with analyst expectations basically meant that we kind of stayed flat with the macro for the majority of the day. And so we're going to get into some great Cybertruck information that we got yesterday, as well as, the second half of this year and a lot of great news that we've been hearing about production and the growth that we're going to see in the second half. And so speaking of other headlines that might be moving the market today, we've got the Fed minutes coming out. So these are the minutes that we're going to be going over based on the June FOMC meeting. And this is the meeting where they were discussing last minute, hey, we can't go with a 50 basis point hike. We're going to have to go to 75. And we're going to get a lot of their insights based upon what they had discussed for that. They're also going to give us insights as far as what they think they're going to be doing for further rate hikes over the course of the rest of the year, including the one that we're going to get at the end of July, whether it's going to be a 50 basis point hike or another 75 basis point hike. We can get some insights into this. So expect some potential volatility in the market today just based on these minutes. We have seen in the past that these have moved the markets. So something to pay attention to today. And then next week, we are going to get these CPI data on the 13th. And that is, we thought we had an inflection point back in March. Well, come to find out it's not, because last month we were at 8.6%, and now the numbers and expectations we're looking at for next week are 8.8%. So still going up, not a great sign. Let's see where these numbers fall in, because if we do fall lower, we have to take it with a grain of salt and still remember that even if we come in at like an 8.4 or 8.5%, sure, we beat expectations, but we are still at very high inflation. So again, this is something that the Fed will be taking into account, taking a look at these different numbers to determine what they're going to be doing for the FOMC meeting at the end of the month. So these are things, and again, I think Tesla, now that we got the production and delivery numbers that came in line with expectations, which has kind of set the pace for between now and their Q2 earnings report that we're going to get on July 20th, probably Tesla's not going to spin in any direction other than the macro. It's going to follow the macro, probably be kind of range bound, and it'll be range bound following the macro. So if the macro pulls way down, the range will pull down. If the macro goes up, the range will go up. Right now, the ranges are looking probably between about 660 and 720. So that's the range we're going to be in right now. If we happen to pull down, that'd obviously, like I said, pull the range down, and that might pull us lower than 620, which is currently the bottom. Again, we'll see how that plays out. If we end up going up and the range pushes up, might push us closer to that 750, maybe even the 800 range again. Another good news that we saw yesterday was oil was pulling down, and this is something we had discussed in the past, which is the oil pulling down under $100, which it did yesterday, and the continued fall of that could indicate that inflation may come down. Because as Jerome Powell had mentioned, some of the inflation that's out there, like when it comes to oil prices and commodity prices, that's out of their control. There's only so much they can do on their end to control that stuff. So we are seeing oil and commodity prices coming down, which could in turn bring inflation down, at least the headline number. Then it's up to the Fed to bring the core inflation number down. If that does end up happening, that's when we could potentially see a more dovish Fed. I don't think they're going to do a full U-turn until next year sometime, but at least putting the brakes on and doing the U-turn on their stance could definitely turn the markets around, at least for the near term. And today we could also see the tariffs on China get lifted, which could be good for the markets as well. This is something that's been kind of holding us back for the last couple of years. So if they do end up allowing this to expire, this could be good for the markets and allow us to flourish a little bit. I don't know how much that's going to play into the market today with everything else we have going on, but there's quite a few things happening, so the markets today could be all over the place. Just something to monitor with, again, all of these different pieces of information coming in. And so now onto some of the great news for the second half of this year and going into next year. We'll start with the Cybertruck. Awesome news coming in. The Cybertruck is sold out through 2027. That's insane. I knew it was going to be sold out through at least 2025. I was assuming, because I kind of registered late. I registered for mine last December. So I knew I was like around the 1.5 million range. I had no doubt that many people were going to be canceling along the way. And there still may be some cancellations that come through this, because I know many people out there put in reservations for 3 and 4 Cybertrucks, knowing full well that they were only going to be getting one of them, depending on which way they were going to go when it came to the trims, how many motors they were going to have, lots of different stuff. So right now they're sold out through 2027. I'm probably going to get mine maybe in 2025. Sounds like some insider sources that we got from Tesla Club over on Twitter are saying that they're looking to start true sellable production next July. So they said the timeline is very tight, so that might get pushed off a little bit. But getting sellable production coming out of July of next year goes right in line with what Elon was saying when they said they were going to be getting to actual production coming out next year, and then we can start the ramp going up. So again, the ramp is probably going to start similar to how we have been seeing Berlin and Austin this year. It's not like they're going to hit the ground and all of a sudden produce 125,000 Cybertrucks next year. That's not realistic. But if they can pump out, 10, 15, 20,000 of them next year, that would be a good start to the ramp going forward, going into 2024. And now going on to the second half of this year, Elon had mentioned it early this year that we can really look forward to great exponential ramp growth coming out of their factories for production for the second half of the year. Obviously, we know Q2 was that blip on the radar with the issues in the lockdowns, but looking at where we're facing for the second half, some of these headwinds, and we've been facing a lot of headwinds, so some of these headwinds should be alleviating. And then looking at the downtime we're going to be having between Shanghai and Berlin to upgrade their systems, Shanghai is going to be upgrading from 17,000 vehicles per week to 22,000 vehicles per week. This should be finalized sometime in September, so we should be getting up to that ramp along the way. Doesn't seem like they had full shutdown, I believe, for the first 4 days of this month, so that should be done. And it sounds like they're going to be shutting down the Y line first, then they're going to shut down the 3 line. So they're going to still have one of the lines running at all times to keep production moving, and they're going to do them one line at a time. So that'll be going forward. Berlin sounds like they could be pushing, and Elon said by the end of the year, they're going to be having about 5,000 to 10,000 vehicles per week coming out of there. Now, Rob Maurer did a great breakdown on this on his latest video, explaining how right now they're doing every vehicle for, it's about 90 seconds per vehicle to get put out. They have 2 shifts that are operating right now at 5 days a week. So right now they're at about 1,000 vehicles per week, as we had seen, with a max run rate of about 2,500 vehicles per week. So if you cut that time in half from 90 seconds down to 45 seconds, which is what their 2-week upgrade is going to be putting them towards, that upgrade, I believe, from what I heard, is like July 11th to July 22nd. So they're going to have it shut down from there, and then they're going to have these upgrades. So coming out of it, by August, they should be at this pace where they're going to be doing 45 seconds per vehicle. Then they're going to be doing some extra hiring in August. It sounds like that is not for the 3rd shift. The 3rd shift is going to be coming on later, but that's still going to be hiring to be able to pump these vehicles out even faster. Then when we get the third shift going on, that's going to bump up production even more, and then add a sixth day of the week, and they could be looking at 5,000 to 10,000 vehicles per week by the end of the year. Now we do know that in September or October, sometime in later Q3, they are expected to be opening up their 4680 line as well. So they'll be producing the batteries out of there, and then probably starting that 4680 line of production for vehicles also, similar to what we have in Austin. Difference between Berlin and Austin is Berlin started with the 2170s, they're going to add the 4680s. Austin started with the 4680s, that went slower than expected, so they threw the 2170s on top of it as a backup because they can actually get vehicles produced out of there and not burn as much cash as they have been in the factory to date. So between both factories, I think this is going to be great because Austin we have very little information about. Hopefully we'll get some on the Q2 earnings call, but right now all we can do is kind of base it similar on what we know from Berlin. Now we know the 2170s are running in Austin, so if we kind of base the ramp pace off of what Berlin saw for the first 2 months, we can kind of calculate out what Austin's going to be like. And so right now my rough production numbers for Q3 and Q4 are 380,000 for Q3 and 475,000 for Q4. Now, Kairov in the comments here, one of the subscribers, he is absolutely awesome. He is like our very own Troy Teslake. For any of you guys who are over on Twitter, Troy Teslake comes out with the most accurate forecasts when it comes to production and deliveries of anyone else. He is literally a Twitter analyst. The guy is dialed right in. He comes in within 1% of the delivery numbers that are forecasted for real. And Kairov is also within 1%. And quiet, not as big as Troy Teslake, not as many people know him, so he is here. He's pretty awesome. If you want to find out, he will be sharing on Discord with us specifically over there, and I'll be able to share with you guys as I get the information from him. But if you want it right away, immediately as he puts it out there, he'll have it over on Discord and he'll have it on Twitter if you want to follow him. I'll put a link down below to both the Discord chat and to his Twitter as well if you want to follow him there. So overall yesterday I was very happy. Obviously it's great to see a green day to be able to put this shirt on, but to be able to see that gap get filled like I wanted and then see the stock bounce right off of it and close just under $700 was exactly how I could have planned it. That is exactly what I was hoping for, so that's awesome. Again, we're going to have probably a volatile day today. We've got a lot of information coming out between today and then next week with the CPI data. So definitely some things to pay attention to. Probably, again, we're going to be tracking with the macro environment through Q2 earnings. I'm going to dial in some more numbers for Q2 earnings to be able to discuss my thoughts and insights with you guys on that later, because then right after that, we're going to get the split information and then go into a split. So coming to a split, I don't know what the price is going to be going into it. It's very tricky to predict. I mean, we could go from a point where maybe the macro turns and does really well, and all of a sudden we're pushing almost $900 going into the split, or the macro could crumble underneath us and crash down like some people are thinking, and Tesla could pull down to $450 or $500, and then we split from there. Lots of different ways to go. I'm kind of in the middle. My mindset is some people think, they do their due diligence and they think, what, all their signs are pointing them that we're going to be going down. Other people are looking out there and they said the signs that they're seeing are pointing them and the stocks are going to be going up. I see both sides. I understand both sides. So for me, I kind of do like I've always done. Like when I played baseball and I was up there hitting, some hitters try to guess what pitch is coming. I wasn't that kind of guy. Because for me, I'm like, well, if I guess the pitch correctly, yeah, I'm going to hit it well. But if I don't guess it correctly, I'm definitely going to be striking out or making an out. For me, I just taught myself to be able to react as quickly as possible and teach myself to be prepared to be able to react as quickly as possible to be able to get as many contact hits as I possibly could. That's how I operate when it comes to the stock market as well. I understand both sides. I understand what all the different pitches can look like. I understand what I might have to be dealing with when it comes to positive bullish statements and bearish negative stuff. I understand all that, and then I prepared myself to be able to react to it along the way. So that for me is how I operate. Everyone is totally different. Some people like to pick a pitch and go for it. And I know some of you are on here saying, you think it's going to crash? You're saving cash. Others are like, I don't think it's going to crash. I think we're going up. I dumped all my money in. And that's awesome that you guys have those strategies and you're sticking to it. That's your gut feeling. You've done your due diligence. And that's the most important thing. You guys have come up with your own strategy. You're following that strategy and you're sticking to it. That's great. So that's just how I operate. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. What are you looking at for a second half for Tesla? What do you think we're going to see with the market today with all of the news that we're getting out? And what is your strategy? Are you a kind of person who, picks a pitch and you think you're going to try and guess what pitch it's going to be? Or are you just going to sit back and be prepared and just react to whatever pitch comes at you? Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. Don't forget to follow Kairav over there as well. He is at a Tesla bot. I will put that link in the description also. We also have our Discord chat. That link's in the description. And if you would like to support the channel any further, I am over on Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.